let's get into the solutions. Okay, I've given you the reasons. Let's say you all in this room believe me that gender equality would be good. Is that true? Got like a round of applause for like, gender equality would be good. I just felt good to hear. So let's get into the solutions. So when I go into companies, we start with the cases around impact, but then we start to talk about communication. We start to talk about how do you bring in leadership? How do you make a diversity and inclusion program that actually works? Well, the good news is there's some research around this. This is from the Harvard Business Review. If you haven't read this, this is literally called Diversity Programs That Get Results. And I'm going to show you the diversity programs that don't get results, and some of you are going to blush. So if you haven't seen this, I'm just going to quickly go through it. You'll see that the numbers in blue show that there's an increase in representative people within a company. And you'll see that orange is lower. Now, this shows you all the things that do actually work. You might notice that some of the things you do are on here. There's one of them that I want you to pay attention to, which is voluntary training. I'm going to show you a slide here in just a second that says mandatory diversity training, and I want you to see the difference in the numbers. So mandatory, bad, voluntary, good. Whenever we do trainings, we ask for voluntary commitment. That does two things. One is it lets potential allies volunteer to come forward as allies, which is what we want, right? Not quite as rescuers, but as, I want to be part of this. I want to actually be engaged in part of the team. I have seen, literally, this is amazing, y'all. I have seen people, I said y'all, I'm from Texas. That came out, sorry. I have seen men walk into trainings I do, right? 20, 30 people, and some of them are senior leaders. They're men walking in head down, feeling like they're about to get their knuckles rapped, right? And I've seen those same men, after that voluntary training, after a few hours, walk out saying, I am so glad I came to this. I feel like I'm finally part of something at my company. I feel like I'm finally part of something. That's a quote from somebody, a man, a white man, said that to me. Just the idea that I could be a part of something as a white man is maybe something I'd never thought of before. I thought my company was what I was a part of, but now I'm a part of something within my company. That's huge. So I beseech you to get this study and get deeper into it. But what I wanted you to see is also, there are some pieces in here about mentoring. We've heard some talk about the difference between mentoring and sponsoring, which is true. One of the things about mentoring is that white men accidentally get a lot of mentoring. And so if you don't have formalized mentorship processes, what happens is the white men get all the mentoring or get all the sponsorship. So installing some kind of formalized mentorship process tends to work pretty well. So again, mandatory is a problem. We'll get into job tests and grievance systems, I'm sure. What I want to do really quickly is cover what is your role and your responsibility. This is what I was asking myself when I was in these companies at a lower level. And we have created what I think is a very compelling roadmap. This is something that you will see in sheet form on your tables in the next break. On the back of it, it also has the top 8 ways to engage men in full gender partnership in your workplace. I just want you to have a roadmap of places you can go, starting from the post-conference show and share. And if you want to have a deeper conversation about all the stuff that we do with Gender Leadership Group, we have a table downstairs. You can come and talk to us afterward. So I want to get now to the next slide package. Thank you. Our titles, perfect. I'm going to bring up a few people who have actually done the work, who have actually built in systemic solutions into their company and have built an inclusion roadmap. So I want to bring up Lesley Slaton Brown from HP Inc., the Chief Diversity Officer. Nadia Chargulaf, Telstra, the Vice President of Human Resources for the U.S. operations. I'm going to bring up Dr. Ronald Copeland from Kaiser Permanente. He's the SVP of National Diversity and Inclusion, Strategy and Policy. And Mike Dillon from PBWC, who is the Chief Diversity Officer.
I just want to mention that when I got here at 6:30 about 7 o'clock this morning, Dr. Copeland was already here, taking copious notes, greeting everybody, I think handing out coffee and donuts.
Thank you all for being here. And I know that everyone's looking forward to hearing all the stuff you've got to share. I want to start with strategy. I want to start with the 30,000 foot. A lot of you are seeing your companies and your initiatives from that level, and some people in this room would like to know, what does it look like from that level? So I'd like to hear, and we'll start here, at the top level, when you think about the strategy of inclusion, how do you bring that to fruition? How do you start the process of visualizing a strategy? Kind of talk to us about the 30,000 foot level that needs to be in place before we get down into tactics.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel today. When I think about the Kaiser Permanente journey in the diversity, inclusion, and equity space, and you're talking about strategy at 30,000 feet, I think strategy starts with core mission. And so in our case, our mission in healthcare is to provide the highest quality and affordable healthcare services to improve the health of our members and the communities we serve. So when we think about any business discipline, any strategic approach, we ask the question, how does this inform, enable, empower our ability to carry out our mission? And so diversity, inclusion, equity get that same assessment. And where we find connections, we build a overarching framework in the areas that have the highest priority for us. And we define what particular accomplishments we want to achieve now and downstream that, again, align with our business strategy. So my point is that, at least for us, the diversity, inclusion, and equity strategy is not a separate activity, not a separate function. It is fully aligned with our mission and our recurring versions of our business strategy. And so if we put diversity, inclusion, and equity to work to serve the mission and our business strategy. And that alignment is critical because the way we drive results around that is through leadership at all levels, board levels, C-suite, and right on down through all ranks of the organization. In the way we talk about performance management goals and measure what we achieve. Performance measurement is critical. So if measurement and goal setting and trend analysis is okay and valuable for financial management, for marketing and growth, then it's relevant for diversity and inclusion if we truly treat it as a strategic asset, which in our case we do. And then the third component beyond leadership and measurement is alignment of culture, of policy, and infrastructure. Because when you get to tactics, that's where the muscle is at.
Thank you.
So Dr. Copeland set me up really well for this, thank you. So at HP, we started, when we split in November of 2015, as two very distinct companies, or excuse me, as one company, Hewlett-Packard Company, we split into two companies. And when we did that, we set off in one direction with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and then the other direction, HP Inc., which is the company that I now represent. And we said we want to create the most diverse board of directors in the tech industry.